Hi everyone, good afternoon. Today we would be understanding what Python is, how Python works, and which interpreter we would be working on how the Python works exactly. So we'll be working on Jupyter Notebook, and we'll work on how Jupyter Notebook handles various tasks and how various cells work out. It's a basic introduction that I'll run you through today, so that we get familiar with the interpreter and everything. So I'll just share my screen. Yeah. So see, to work on Jupyter Notebook, we have Anaconda. Anaconda is a platform on which all these Python related stuff works on. So I have installed this Anaconda Navigator on my system. You can do the same way. We have this Jupyter Notebook over here. Once I click launch over here, my Jupyter Notebook opens up like this. So this is a basic interface of a Jupyter Notebook, how it looks like on every platform, whether you use a Visual Studio or any other normal Jupyter Notebook platform, it looks like the same. So I'll just explain you some basic things how Python interpreter works. So before we get into that, Python is a general purpose programming language. It is readable and it resembles just like an English language. Python can be used in almost any domain and on any platform. So it is a user friendly, it's an open source language. The community for Python language is so strong that you have almost all the solutions to anywhere that you get stuck to. So there are various blogs, various platforms like GitHub and etc., where you can reach out to developers, Python developers, and ask for your questions if you get stuck somewhere in any of the code or something. So the most beautiful part of Python language is that you can go to Google, you can Google it around, you can visit GitHub, and there are various communities like Geeks for Geeks and etc., that provides you a lot of information on Python. So it's quite easy to understand Python. It's not something like any other programming language. Any person, even who is not from a technical background or from engineering background, can understand Python very easily, because it's equivalent to as if you are writing an English language in your day-to-day basis. So first of all, just leave this first line. I'll explain you how this interpreter works like. So as you can see over here, it's a blue color over here. Fine. The blue color indicates that you are in a command mode. Command mode is nothing, it's just a prompt like we have in our terminals or the CMD prompts or the command prompts. It's just a command prompt. So the blue color over here indicates that you are in command prompt. When I press enter, it enters into a green color mode, which is the edit mode. Over here I can write my code and work on things and work on coding part. Now there is something called, like, if we want to add a comment or something, we use hashtag and write our comment, etc. So the shortcut, there are various ways to execute a code in Python. So by execution I mean, like, if I have written something, let's say I write this thing only. So you can click over here run to execute the code. Fine. Let's say I click run over here. It asks me for my name. I'll explain you how this works, and then I press enter. It prints hello with my name. So just don't go into the code part as of now. I'll explain you later on. We are not into coding as of now. I'll explain you how coding works in Python. I'm just explaining you how the Jupyter Notebook functions exactly. Now I have mentioned a code. Let's say I need to comment this out. So I can use hashtag, write a code to print your name by taking input from the user. So let's say Abhishek. So it prints hello Abhishek. This is how we enter into command prompt and everything. So as I mentioned that you can run the code from here. There's a run button over here. Or another way, a shortcut to run a code or to execute a code or execute any cell or block in Jupyter Notebook, you can press shift enter. Just shift and enter. So that's a shortcut. So shortcut to execute a code in Jupyter Notebook. It is Shift plus Enter. That's it. Sorry? That is not required. I'm just, see, over here I'm entering it into quotes. When I'm entering into quotes, it takes it as if it's a text part that I'm asking it to take. So if I'm not submitting any input type or integer or float something, it means it's a string value that I'm asking for the interpreter to execute it as a string. In string, I can enter anything. Let's say I run this code. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, by default it takes it as a string. I don't know why it is not running. I have to stop the kernel and I have to restart it again. Yeah. So let's say if I enter a number also, it will take it as a number because I have entered it into quotes. Anything that is into quotes, like in SQL we studied, anything that is in double quotes, it is taken up as a string. Let's say so this is something that I'll tell you, the data types and everything I'll explain you later on. Just let us just stick to how we work on a Jupyter Notebook. Let's just get familiar with the Jupyter Notebook as of now. So what I was telling, yeah. So if you want to check out what are the command prompts and everything that are working on, see, once I press enter or click into it, it enters into the edit mode. When I press escape key, it enters into the command mode. In the command mode, if I want to check out what are the shortcuts available to me to run, execute or something, I can press the key P. When I press P, it gives me all these things, like if I want to enter into the coding mode, I have to press Y. If I want to add a heading, one heading 2, heading 3, heading 4, heading 5, heading 6, markdown cells, you have raw code. So these are some things. And to exit a kernel, you can press escape. Anytime you press escape, you are back into that mode. So let's say we enter into the markdown mode, markdown cells. So what for that we do is we press M key. M is for markdown. When I press markdown, this is something when you want to write some text, when you want to enter certain values, certain things, that as an explanation, right? So let's say whatever I'll write over here, I can say it is Python trainer. Whatever I'll write, it will take it as a text. I need not to add a hashtag over it or anything. So this is something that will help you out in working on certain, if you want to put a description of whatever text that you are working on, put a description of whatever code that you are writing, you can press M and start writing over there directly. No need to add any hashtag or something. Fine. So if you want to bold a text, let's say if you want to bold a text, what we do is we put 2 stars, we write anything over here, and then put 2 stars and then execute. It gets bold, it comes in bold, right? If you want to put it in italics, let's say italics. For italics, I take one asterisk, I put my name, it comes in italics. So see, it comes in italics. Let's take another cell and try it out over here. Okay, it's not working. I guess I don't need any quotes. Yeah, it comes in italics. Over here also I don't need any quotes over here. It will come in bold. See? And then what if I want to have some bullet points or something? I can take a dash and let's say name and execute it. It will come as a bullet point. Let's say I want to have numbers or 1 2 3 4 like we have in Word. What we'll do is put one dot followed by a space and then whatever text you want. Sorry, it's not in a markdown cell. I have to press M and then run it out, then it will work out. So anything, if you want any text to be entered or any text or any values that need to be entered, so it works that way. If you want to have any bullet points, then you put a hyphen with a space and then whatever you want to write. Let's say Avin, let's say Harshita, let's say Vishmita, let's say Uday. So this is how a markdown field works out in Python. Now we can also add colors to our fonts as well. How to do that? Again, we are into command mode right now. We'll press M and enter into markdown mode. So we put it as a font color, let's say red. Then I put my text and then I close it, just like we do it in HTML. So this will give me a colored font over here. So this is all not related to coding, but this is something that you should know to get familiar with Python interpreter, which is a Jupyter Notebook. Now let's say what are the data types in Python. So data types in Python. So there are two sets of data types. One is the data types that we are already familiar with, and another set of data types are which are performance related, or rather I would say some things which are not which are used in day-to-day language, which are separate from text, int, float, or all those things, which are called as sequential data types. So text is something which is string, okay? Then we have other data types. Besides text, anything that you enter is taken as a number. Fine, it is taken as a number. So number data types come up as text data type is represented by str. Number data types are int, float, and complex data type. Then we have something called sequential data types. Sequence data types covers most important part, the most important thing that we work in Python day in and day out, which are lists, list, tuple, range. Then there is another data type which is mapping. In mapping we have dictionary, which is represented by DICT. This is nothing, this is dictionary data type. Fine. Then we have another interesting data type which is sets, like we have sets in mathematics. So again the same thing, we have sets, we represented by set. Sixth one is the Boolean data type. Again, this is something which we represented by bool. It has true and false, 0, 1. That is what bool is, like we had in SQL. So there is the last and not the least, we have binary data types, which are bytes. We have byte array. We have memory view. This is something that I have not worked on so far till date, but I'll figure it out. I'll explain you things, how these things work out. So we'll work on these data types step by step now in our coming session. Like now, just right now, I'll explain you what these things are. So when it comes to text, let's say x is equal to oven. This is a text field. If I print x, it will give me oven. This is a explanation of, text data type. Fine. Now let's say we get on to the integer data type. So we have x is equal to 5. We have x is equal to, let's say, 5.5, which is a float data type. We have x is equal to a5, which is a complex data type. So I'll put it in different ways, x, y and z. Sorry, z is equal to a5. Now print x, y and z. So this is an integer. This is a float. This is a complex. Complex is nothing, it is basically alphanumeric, like we do in our normal day-to-day language. Alphanumeric passwords and text code, that is a complex data type. So simple thing cut short, text is something when you have something in quotes. The rest, you know what an integer is, what a float value is. Anything in decimals is a float value, anything without decimals is an integer. So you need not to specify the data type at all anywhere. You just, the way you enter the value, it picks up, it interprets it. The interpreter is so smart that it picks up the value in the same way and represents it in the same manner. That's what Python inculcates. You need not to specify a data type. The way you put a data type, the way you enter the text, it picks up the same way, the way you are entering a value or a field into your code. Now, so see, I have been writing some code over here. So this is something, x over here is called a variable. Fine. Any value that you enter to x, value that I give to x is its data type. Using arithmetic operators like equal to, comma, plus, comma, minus, let's say divide, etc. All these help you assign values or perform arithmetic operations on the variables or on the text that you have entered. Understand my point? So this is how things go about. Now, another important thing is to understand what lists are, what is a tuple, what is a dictionary. So I'll just give you an example over here, how a list looks like, how a tuple looks like, how a dictionary looks like, and what are the string functions and everything. But we'll go on it step by step. I'll take another variable, let's say list. So when I'm entering value to a list, always remember a list is always in square brackets with values into it. It can have numbers, it can have strings, it can have complex values, anything. It can have so it can have all these values in it. So when I say print list, this is the output that we get. It's again in the same way, the way you enter. The only thing that you need to remember is lists are represented in square brackets with any sort of value. List can take any kind of value that is present, that you can think. It can take any sort of values. It can take string, integer, floats, any kind of data type. List can accommodate any kind of data type. So what did we learn from lists? Lists are represented in square brackets. Lists can take any set of values and any kind of data type. Another important thing is lists are mutable. What does mutable mean? Just like mutants, they can change into different shapes, different sizes, different characters. So lists can be changed. It means we can make changes to a list. We can edit, update, and insert values in a list. I'll explain you what the list functions are in a while, but not as of now, because that is an extensive topic that requires a lot of time. This is something I'm just explaining you what are the different data types that we will be working on. Now, what a tuple is. A tuple is exactly same as a list. There is no difference between a list and a tuple. The only difference, I'll tell you what the difference is. Let's say, Avin, let's say Harshita, and let's say any number, let's say 981936030. So when I print it, it gives me, see, the only difference is, as the visible difference, what I see, tuples are represented in parentheses, which are curved brackets, not the square brackets. So let's jot it down. What are the differences? Tuples are exactly same as a list. They are represented in parentheses. Thirdly, the major difference, again, they can have any kind of data type in it. The major difference comes over here. They are immutable. Tuples are immutable. That is, tuples cannot be changed or edited. To change a tuple, you need to create a new tuple altogether. The existing one cannot be updated or edited. So this is what I come to tell you, that what is a major difference between a list and a tuple, and this is the major interview question that is asked in every Python interview, whether you are a senior manager, senior analyst, junior analyst, or a data analyst, or a data engineer, or a data scientist. In every interview, this question is asked. This is the most basic question that is asked to every person, to have a basic understanding of Python from that person, that whether you know what is a tuple and what is a list, what is the difference. So that's how lists are different from tuples. If you have any question between list and tuples right now, please feel free to ask me right away, because I would be asking you this question on and over again, that this is a list, this is a tuple, what's the difference? Is it a list or is it a tuple? I'll ask you differences later on once we proceed into the sessions. This understanding should be very much clear to you guys. So please let me know if you have any questions on this front. Feel free to ask me what is a list and what is a tuple, because this is the major difference between a list and a tuple. Rest, everything that you can do with a list, you can do with a tuple. No difference at all. But lists can be changed, they can be modified, updated, edited. Tuples cannot be. You need to delete a tuple and create a new tuple. That's how tuples editing work out. Do you have any questions over this? Please ask me. Please feel free to ask me. Okay, cool. Okay, Harshita, you have any question? Okay, cool. Now, see, these things you might be knowing beforehand, but these things are very basics of Python that you should know for sure. For sure, these things are very much required for your understanding, for your clarity in future while working on Python or any of the Python coding platforms. Either it's Jupyter, either it is PyCharm, anything that you work on, these things are quite basic, and these are must, very very important things that you need to know. What are the various data types? Then we will work on what are the various operations that we can perform on list, tuple, dictionary, string, etc. Those are very much important when you work into Python for data cleaning and all those purposes. Now the next thing that we come into is dictionary. I'm going slow today because this is something that is very much important, and you should have a clear grip on all these things. Dictionary is represented with square brackets. It has two fields, key and a value. It always occurs in a pair. Let's say we have a Oxford dictionary. So let's say we need to find out the meaning of the word probability. We go to dictionary, we search probability, then there is a meaning to it. So probability is the key, and the meaning, the value that explains probability is its value. So a key value pair. Dictionary works like a key value pair. Understand? So for every key there should be a value. I'm sorry. For every key there should be a value. This is how dictionaries work. So I'll give you an example of a dictionary. Let's say I create any variable, let's say Dict. Just to understand that it's a dictionary, you can give any name to any of the variables. That is not a compulsion at all, but better give names which are very much viable, which very much explain the clear meaning of what that represent. Understand my point? So like I said, dictionaries are represented by curly brackets. When you enter curly brackets, the first thing that you enter is a key. So let's say I have first key as name. I give a value to it, let's say oven. I have second key as phone number. I give value to it as fine. Let's say I have ID. So I give my ID as 3562. Anything. So you can have numbers, you can have text, or like you can have numbers, you can have string values, you can have even float values as well in a dictionary. So when I'll print this, print dictionary, it will give me the exactly same result. Now let's say I want to print, let's say Dict dot value. Let me just check this out if this works out. Even I'll let you know how these things work out. So those are some later on operations that we do. Also, while working on certain, let's say you made a mistake in certain text field or certain command prompt that you are working on, you need to delete that cell. How do we delete that cell? Let's say this is something that I created. I want to delete this. Press D for Delhi or D for doll. Press it twice. The cell will get deleted. Understand? The cell will get deleted completely. You can't recover that cell anyhow. If you want to add some cells below the cell that you are working on, press B. B means below. The more you press B, the more cells will get added. If you want to add a cell above it, press A. Cells will be added above it. See, I am adding the cells. These are getting above, not below. It is showing below, but it is, let's say I am here in this cell. I press above, the cell gets created above. Fine. If I say B, a cell gets created below. That's how above and below works. This is something you would require while you're working on a sequential code and you want to work on certain things that work in a proper sequence. So now another important thing that comes into picture is sets. Now let's say set S. So I create a set S. Let's say I have Adan, I have Lakshita, so it doesn't matter you put double quotes or single quotes, it takes it as a text only, again a pointer. At times I might be using double quotes, single quotes, is as per your ease. You can put it double quotes, single quotes, it will be taken as a text value only, it will be considered as a string only. So let's say I have 1, I have 3, I have Uday. So print S. See, did you notice any difference? So again, sets are mentioned in curly brackets. It can take any data type in it, but sets do not give result in an order. The values are not in order at all. Over here, the way I had entered the values, I get the same result. Over here, the way I have entered the values, I get the same result. Over here, the way I have entered the values, I get the same result. But sets do not bother about order. Another important thing is, I create another set for you. S is equal to, let's say, curly brackets, let's say 0, 10, 5, 2, 4, etc. I have 4, 2, 5, 10, 0. So when I'll print this set, I'll just show you. First I'll show you, then I'll explain you what I'm doing. So sets ignore all the duplicate values. Sets doesn't take any duplicate values in it. There are no duplicate values are allowed in sets. See, I had 2 4s over here, I had 2 values of 2 over here, I had 2 5s over here, I had 2 10s over here, I had 2 zeros over here. But what it is returning me? Only the values that are present over here. Let's say I'm taking you to a little higher level. Let's say I have a list. Let's say oven. By mistake I have added another oven to it. So say it. Say Uday Rashmita. So print list. I get this result. What if I want to have I want to remove the duplicates in a list? Fine. So just a minute, I'll just explain you how to remove duplicates in a list. We can just convert it into a set. That is called typecasting. When we convert something into a text, that is called typecasting. I'm forgetting the syntax for it. Let me just Google it out. Typecasting in Python. So I'm converting the data type from one type to another. That's how I work it out, how it is done. Let's say convert list to a set in Python. Syntax for. Yeah, so what we can do is, let's say I create a set. S is equal to set list. Print S. Over here, see, how do we, this is called, I'll explain you. I'm sorry. This is called typecasting. What is typecasting? Typecasting is the way you can change the data type from data type to another data type. Change data type from one form to another. Please ignore my spellings. I'm typing fast, so that might happen. So over here, what I'm doing is, see, a text is represented by, just make a note of it, text is represented by str. Fine. List is represented by list, tuple by tuple, and dictionary by dict. These are the basic terminologies, basic keywords that we use to describe a string, list, tuple, and a dictionary. And set, we use set. So over here I had this list. Let's say this list is L. Rather than taking the keyword, let's say this list is L. Fine. I need to change the data type of this list to a set. Why? I need to remove the duplicate values in my list. So the solution to that is I can change the data type because sets ignore all the duplicate values. Right? When I want to remove the duplicate values, what comes to my mind is I can convert it into a set because set doesn't allow any duplicate values. So the way of converting it into is you mention, take a variable, let's say any variable x is equal to the data type in which you want to convert. Data type in which you want to convert, and then the variable whose data type needs to be changed. Get my point? So this is what we are doing over here. I have created a new variable s which is equivalent to x over here. The data type I want to convert to is a set. I have mentioned it as set. Now the variable that I need to convert is over here in line 29, which is L. I put it over here, then I print it. It gives me this result where when the duplicate value has been removed. But again, there is no order to it. It can come in any order. It can come in any order. That is not specific for a set. It doesn't say that alphabetical or numerical alignment or increasing or decreasing order it would give you a result. No. Sets are besides any order. They only doesn't allow any duplicate values. So what did we learn from sets? Sets can take any data type. Sets do not allow duplicate values. Just for my understanding, any of you guys have already have knowledge on Python beforehand? Any of you have worked on Python beforehand? Uday, have you? Okay. Harshita, did you study Python in your engineering? Okay, fine. So this is what is called typecasting. Now let's say I want to change this data type into a tuple. Fine. So I'll create a tuple. Let's say t is equal to tuple L. I'm converting L into only a tuple. Print t. So it just converted this thing. Line 29, the result in line 29. A tuple is in parenthesis. A list is in square brackets. So the only difference over here is it has created into a tuple. I can't convert it into a dictionary. Why? Because there are no key value pairs over here. If I had key value pairs, I would have easily converted into a dictionary. Understand my point? That is how typecasting works. So anywhere, if you someday come across a question that in Python or a problem that comes to you in front of you, mentioning that okay, I need to remove duplicates from a particular set of values, what would you do? Just convert it into a set. Just convert it into a set. So this is how the data types are represented in Python. This is a string, this is a list, this is a tuple, a dictionary, and this is a set. Okay. So this is what I wanted to explain it to you today, the various data types that we use. See, I have mentioned other data types as well. Don't get confused. We have covered list, sequence, number, text. This we have covered. Fine. Sorry, dictionary as well. We have covered dictionary also. This is all what we have covered today. The range I'll explain you. I'm sorry. This is something which is pending, that will come later on. We have covered all these types, even set as well. Boolean and other data types will cover tomorrow, and from tomorrow we'll start working on what are the various list operations, what are the various operations on a text. Like I mentioned, that lists are mutable. So lists can be changed. There can be addition, subtraction, deletion, updation in a list. How to perform those operations on a list. How these operations help us in a daily life. How to perform operations on a dictionary. How do we access values in a dictionary? Let's say I'll give you a small example. Let's say x is equal to Rashmika and Harshita attended the Python session. So print x. So I got this text. Let's say I just need to access certain values only into this. How can I do that? Let's say, so what did I do over here? I'm taking the first index in my string. Understand? I took the first index in my string. This is the first index. This is 0. Every index in Python starts with 0. Remember, any counting, any indexing, any value that you need to count in numbers, whether it's a text or a number, it starts with a 0 index. So u is 0, d is u is 0, d is 1, this is 2, this is 3, comma is 4, space is 5. Let's say I put x5. I want to access the fifth element. It would give me a blank space because fifth is blank. Sixth is r. So sixth is r. Let's say I want to access 6 to 9. So this is 6, 7, 8, 9. Every last element. So what I have written over here is start point, comma, end point. But the result that I get is, result is start point and end minus 1 index. I have entered 9. It will give me 6 to 8. This is 6. This is 7. This is 8. So I get RAS. Understand? This is what I have given you, a small gist of how we operate on a string, how we perform operations on a string. Get my point? So this is how the operations work on a string, and this is how we get the results. We'll discuss these things. These are quite interesting things, guys. You'll enjoy this journey through Python, and these operations will work on practically on certain examples, certain case studies, etc. We'll work on it. I'll explain you how these things work and how these things would be helpful in coding and accessing certain things once you are starting your coding in Python. So that's all from my end today. This is what I wanted to cover: the basics of Python, how Python works out, what is Python, and how we can work out things in Python.